Manager is going to be refocused on Windows Server and client management for devices inside of your firewall, inside of your LAN. And Intune is going to be refocused on just cloud management for clients, operating system independent and agentless management on Windows. And with that announcement, we went back to monthly service releases. And as you can see, we have new features, enhancements, new features. So they've really been pumping out the new features and capabilities into Intune.
So why would you still want System Manager on-prem?
Well, because Intune is for client management. Config Manager, you can still manage your servers. Intune is for client only.
Then bare metal, if you want to do bare metal.
Yep, bare metal imaging. Config Manager definitely has some benefits for on-premise management, but it's really limited to devices inside of your firewall. All right, so with some of these new features, we were introduced to Windows Lapse, Windows Auto Patch. There were some long overdue improvements for Windows Update for Business. Windows Defender Application Control got some love, and also the Intune suite and add-ons. So Windows Lapse, everything you need to know is in this chart right here. Lapse is it stands for Local Administrator Password Solution. It automatically rotates and backs up the local admin password. Windows Lapse is different from Microsoft Lapse, the Lapse client that's been out for 15 years or so, because it's baked into Windows 10 and 11. Microsoft Lapse is now referred to as Legacy Lapse, and with that, we had to push out an MSI. It worked from basically Windows Vista up until now. Windows Lapse isn't exclusive to Intune. You can set it up in group policy as well, but now we can manage it in Intune.
And this is just for 10 and 11, not servers. So if you want to do servers, you're doing something different.
Correct, yeah. It's built into Windows 10 and 11, and I think it was introduced with Windows 10 21H2 and all versions of Windows 11. In Intune, it's currently in public preview. So to get to those settings for Windows Lapse, there's a new section in endpoint security for account protection. And in here you can see the local admin password solution is in preview. And when we configure it in Intune, we have the ability to back up the password into Azure AD. We can specify the admin account that we want to use. And then if the account and password are used to sign in, we can say what happens after that. So we can automatically rotate the password immediately. We can change it after 24 hours. We can force a reboot. There's a lot of options for that.
So with the admin account, is it the main one? Can you pick one? Can you do more than one?
Well, you can only do one. And with this native configuration here, we can select the account, but we can't have, it doesn't create the account for us. So in order to push out a Labs admin account, we need to set up a separate configuration profile to actually create the account on those devices. And I'm hoping before it leaves preview, we'll have the option in this configuration to build the account as well. But right now, we just select the account that we want. So after we have this set up and we push it out, when we go into Intune and click on the device, there's a local admin password section. It looks just like the BitLocker section. We can click on it. We can see the account that we're using for Labs. We can show the password when it was set last and when it's going to rotate next. And it looks like the BitLocker section, but one thing that is different from lapse in BitLocker is with BitLocker, we can make that BitLocker key available to the device's primary user. With lapse, it's only available to administrators. So we can't use it for UAC or anything like that. We can't. They need to come to us to get that password. All right, so next we'll cover Windows Auto Patch. And Windows Auto Patch is a fully managed update service from Microsoft. It's included with M365, E3, and E5.
Well, Business Premium.
It is not included with Business Premium or government SKUs or education SKUs right now, just the E3 and E5. And it's included, but it's opt-in. We have to actually enroll the tenant. And it is opt-in because with that, a lot of things happen on the back end. It's going to create an enterprise application up in Azure. It's going to create new groups and policies, update rings. It's going to collect device diagnostics for Windows updates. And the reason that it's not available for government SKUs at this time is because it stores auto-patch data in Azure data centers, not in your own tenant. And that doesn't fly with government right now. So if you're cool with all of these changes, you check the box and agree to that. And then it's going to go through setting up. It says it takes a few minutes. A few minutes of Microsoft time is somewhere between 5 and 30 minutes. So after it's done getting all of that set up, we can see all the changes that it makes. And it's going to add 5 update rings, 6 feature update policies. These are the big Windows versions. And it's also going to add 16 new groups. So some of these are device groups, some of these are role groups. The only one that we really need to be concerned with is the device registration group. So what we need to do is actually get our Windows devices in that registration group, and then the auto patch service will dynamically divvy out those devices into the ring groups and the feature update groups. All right, so the flow really is, it'll be our job to get devices into the registration group, and it's going to check and make sure that there isn't any existing rings or any conflicting settings in there. And then the auto patch service is going to deploy devices into the different rings. It's going to add the devices to all of the groups. And then if everything is good, it's going to mark them as active. And once that's done, we just need to make sure that new devices get registered and then check our email. So each month you'll get 2 emails, one that says the schedule of when updates are going to be pushed out to all the rings, and then we'll get an email at the end of the month that says how successful the update deployment was. So the auto patch goals are, when you enroll in auto patch is going to keep at least 95% of your devices on the latest quality update. Quality update are the monthly cumulative updates, and the different update rings will go from day 1 to 21 days after release. You want to have 99% of your devices on a supported version of Windows. So a supported version of Windows right now, technically Windows 10 21H2 is still a supported update. So you don't expect all of your devices to immediately get updated to Windows 11 or anything like that. You can go in, so it is a fully managed service, but if you want to move devices up faster than Microsoft moves up devices, you can set your own feature update policies, and Microsoft will just follow the same rules to get everything updated on that. And then it's going to move your Office installs from the current channel to the monthly enterprise channel and it wants to keep 90% of your Office installs on a supported version as well. Windows Update for Business, there were some improvements made to that as well. The Windows Update for Business is available to all Intune license levels. So if you don't want to leverage AutoPatch, if you're an E3 customer or you're a Business Premium, you can still take advantage of the updates for the improvements for Windows Update for Business. So we got added control for update rings. We can now uninstall feature and quality updates. We can pause the whole ring for 35 days. We can extend deferrals for 14 days. We got some basic functionality added to the rings themselves. And we also have the ability to create a driver update profile now. So we can granularly approve it and approve drivers for devices. If you remember, the current settings for deploying drivers are yes, I want to deploy drivers, or no, I don't want to deploy drivers. Now we have control of what's getting pushed out to those devices through Windows updates. So it's going to go through, once you create that profile, it's going to go out and do an inventory scan of all of your hardware, and then it's going to find those drivers that are available through Windows Update. And it is just drivers. We're still not going to be able to approve BIOS updates or firmware or anything like that, unless you have Surface devices. Those go out through Windows Update.
And they're not just Microsoft-specific drivers, it's
No,
other devices.
Anything that is available through Windows Updates, printer drivers. Yeah, there's all sorts of different hardware that gets approved to get pushed out through Windows Updates. All right. So, Windows Defender Application Control. Like Windows Lapse, this isn't a feature that is exclusive to Intune. We've been able to configure Windows Defender Application Control in group policy for, I don't know, a few years now, but it has gotten some love up in the Intune world. And that we now have built-in controls. So with the built-in controls for Windows Defender Application Control, we can use what Microsoft likes to call this its light touch management. So we can choose to trust apps from managed installers, which if you're deploying it from Intune, Intune is your managed installer. And then trust apps with good reputation. And when we check that box, when new apps go to install on a computer that has this policy set out, the device is going to ping the Microsoft Intelligent Security Graph. And the Intelligent Security Graph is where Defender for Endpoint, Cloud App Security, all of the security suites, they check into the Intelligent Security Graph. And when you go to install a new application, it's going to ping that Intelligent Security Graph to see if that app that you have has a good reputation or not. So that's the light touch management for Windows Defender Application Control.
The easy button.
The easy button. Yeah, and even though it's light touch, we still need to test it because the Intelligent Security Graph, it's putting a lot of faith in Microsoft at that time.
So do it on a Friday and take next week off.
Exactly. We still have the option to do a complete lockdown with Windows Defender Application Control. We have two options for that. You can set it up on a gold image with all of your applications that you want to allow, and you can export the XML data from that. And then with that, only the applications that are on that gold image will be allowed to be installed. So that scenario you may have where, if you have public-facing devices or something like that, where you just want to keep them completely locked down, we can do the gold image. And then they also released a wizard tool for Defender Application Control, and you can go out to that URL download the wizard, and you can, it's more of checkbox style then, where you can say that I want to allow trusted apps as well as these certain ones to be able to get installed. And then with that, that'll build the XMLs for you, and you can upload those into Intune.
So does that, when you do that, it's not version or edition specific, it's just that application?
Just that application, yep. Yeah, there's different ways that you can hash the application, or you can have it go by registry checking. There's a few different ways to do it. So when you're rolling this out, you always want to start in audit mode. It's almost too powerful because you have the option to not trust Windows components, which is a silly option. So always, when you create a policy, always start in audit mode. Always scope the policy to just a few devices. Make sure you set the managed installer to Intune, or you won't be able to push any software from Intune itself. And then just not assigning the profile does not remove any of the configuration for it. So you have to, if you want to undo your Windows Defender application control policy, you have to create an everything allowed policy and assign that to the same devices.
So more than likely, you're going to be creating that XML maybe once a quarter, depending on your software update, or not your software that you've added, maybe removed, stuff like that?
Yeah, something like that. Basically whenever you need to allow new software, it'd be a good practice to go through and update all of the software packages and then export the XMLs again. A few times a year, I would say. All right, and then make sure you test. Like I said, you can, if you forget to check the box to trust Windows DLLs, you can basically just brick the whole computer and make nothing work. So you don't want to end up with Ron Swanson chucking all of his computers in the garbage. All right, then Intune Suite and add-ons. These got released earlier this year, and they started out with being just the Intune Suite or the individual add-ons. Microsoft thought that was too easy, so now we have Intune Plan 2, which is some of the add-ons, and the Intune Suite, which is all of the add-ons, or we can get them individually. It generally works out if you want more than one of the add-ons. One of the other packages is going to get you more bang for your buck there. So. Remote help. The Intune remote help is, if you've ever used Quick Assist, the interface is identical for remote help as Quick Assist. It is slightly different, being that it's not built into Windows. We actually need to push out the remote help application or direct people to go to a URL to download it. And the difference is that when you push it out, then it's going to get tied into your tenant. And then we can launch remote help sessions directly from the Intune console. And we have full unattended access. We can do full control, and we can just do screen sharing where you tell people where you want them to click. So if you are an Intune admin, these are your options that you can use. We can also set up the permissions for our back roles. So if you have help desk people or anyone that you don't want to give Intune admin access to, they can still do help desk sessions using the security codes where you give them the number, they start the session, and it works like a normal Quick Assist session. So it only works on Windows and Android right now. There's a big push to get it on iOS, but there are just some security things that iOS doesn't allow at this time. You don't need to be logged into the Intune admin portal to get a session. You just need to open up the remote help client and then you can do the codes. There is a weird bug where if you start a normal session and then you elevate it with admin rights, when the session ends, it logs the user off and they have to sign back in. So I'm assuming that it'll get fixed here pretty quick. And the remote help sessions are logged, but we can't go back and view the recording on them as of yet either.
So by the time you log out that user and they log back in, it's broke again and now you have to start over.
Yeah, hopefully not. Endpoint privilege management. So with endpoint privilege management, the goal at a lot of organizations is to not allow users to be local admins on their devices. But there always seems to be some sort of, you have an application that runs that needs to run with admin rights, or it updates weekly and you have to be a local admin to install it. So endpoint privilege management allows standard users to perform admin tasks. So there's two ways that we can do that. If you do have an application that always needs admin rights, or you have a program that updates that needs to install updates with admin rights, you can create automatic elevation policies that will allow those applications to run as administrator with no interaction from the user themselves. So when you push out an endpoint privilege management policy, a new service gets installed on the computers, and that service handles the elevation, the admin rights based on the rules that we have set. So we can do that silently for the users. They just double click the application. It'll run as admin rights if they need to. And then we can also create rules to allow users to elevate on demand by providing justification. So if we set up rules to elevate on demand, what ends up happening here, I'm going to go back a few slides, we end up, instead of a normal UAC prompt, we get the endpoint privilege management prompt, and then they enter the business justification. If it is good, they click continue, and then they can run that with admin rights. So it's basically it replaces the UAC prompt with the EPM prompt. All elevations are reported back to Intune, and that with that we can see what the file was, who the user was, what type, if it was an on-demand or unmanaged, what the time and date was, all of that fun stuff.
And there's no way right now where you can say they can request it and then you approve it and then it works later. It's you kind of have to, give them the rights up front.
Correct. Yeah, there isn't a built-in way so that somebody could say that I need this to run with admin. Please click allow. They have to actually ask you about it. All right. Anybody have any questions? Yeah.
Do you have any indication of kind of what you said they paused for a few years? Did they give any indication on, whether or not they'll continue to develop this out? And I'm sure they will, but, what things are kind of upcoming? What enhancements of things that we saw today do they have planned and kind of made publicly available?
Well, so they do have a list of things that are in private preview, and they do have a roadmap that's out there. Some of the things that go into private preview never make it to public preview. Once they hit public preview, then then they're going to go GA shortly. So they do have that out there. I don't know what that list of stuff upcoming is. But it does seem that all of the service releases that I had up there, they're still going with the monthly service releases. So they're still pumping out new features, and there's still a lot in the pipeline there.
And Microsoft Ignite is next month, the week before Thanksgiving. You don't have to be a partner to get there, but, do it, register for it. It's kind of more based for the customer base. You'll see a lot of the new features and stuff like that through that as well, because that's where they do the big push.
Yeah.
Can you just repeat the question? The at-home viewers didn't quite hear that.
Oh, yeah, he was wondering, like, what else is coming down the pipe for Intune? And Watson makes a good point. At Ignite next month, they kind of save everything, keep it in their basket, and then tell everybody what's coming at their big conference.
And a lot of times, like, if we go to some Microsoft presentation, we have to sign the NDA saying, no, we can't talk about this until you guys do, so. But there isn't really anything that's come out that I know that, again, once it gets close to Ignite, they lock everything down. They don't talk a lot about it.
So that Windows auto patch,
Yep.
I didn't see in there if you have the option to delay, right? Oftentimes there's a reboot associated with that. And users, right, I assume you can set time of day and give users the chance to delay the reboot. Is that part of that configuration?
So the question is, can you delay the reboot after an update?
Yeah, so with Windows Auto Patch, you have generally 7 days where it's going to install the updates and says you need to reboot to finish installing. If you go that whole 7 days, they're going to implement deadlines, which will force the reboot.
Right, okay, but it doesn't just it tells you need to reboot. It doesn't just,
Correct, yep.
Correct. It's not like 7 or XP where
right?
middle of the day, oh, I'm going to reboot on you. Yeah, here we go.
Yeah, that's a good point. That with Auto Patch, they do implement deadlines, but only if you've gone past the reboot deferral time. So they give you a pretty good chunk of time to actually reboot on your own, and then if you just keep ignoring it, they'll reboot for you.
Do we have any questions remotely, Jamie? Any other questions? How much time do we have left, Jamie?
Got one more?
Sure. What's your experience been with privilege management? Have you guys deployed it? How has it been received? I know it's a relatively new feature, but is it something that is worth looking at?
So,
Here,
yeah.
1 second. The question
Oh,
is,
yeah, sorry, keep doing that.
have we done a lot with privilege management and stuff like that? We rolled it out, it's fairly new. What have we done with it?
Yeah, for endpoint privilege management specifically, we've only had a few customers that we worked with that have rolled it out. Both of those customers were Azure joined cloud-only customers. So we haven't dealt with it specifically in like a hybrid environment. But for those cloud-joined customers, it's worked well. You have to, they wanted it because they had some mapping software that did weekly updates. It would pull in, or do some update into a database that they needed admin rights for. So they had a very specific use case for it. And we got that rule set up, and everything worked like it was supposed to. But there's not, in our customer base, there isn't a lot of endpoint privilege management kind of out in the wild yet.
Thank you.
It's 11:43, so there are a few minutes left. If you guys have any other questions, feel free to ask. If you want to ask any private questions, you can go up after and visit with Chris and Chris.
Yep, and we do a lot with Intune. Perry I think for 3 weeks straight was just doing Intune projects at one point, so.
About 3 years straight.
3 years straight, yes. You know, there's the autopilot, so I mean, again, we didn't, you know, talk a lot about the autopilot and stuff like that, that's out there. But, you know, talk to us, anything about Intune, we can surely help and get you pointed in the right direction.
Yeah, Intune's probably my favorite Microsoft product that's out right now. I'm gonna say 75% of the projects I do right now are Intune projects, so. If you have any Intune specific questions or want to know anything else about it, let me know.
How many are running Intune right now? Nice. How many want to start running Intune? There you go.
It's a moving target.
It is a very much a moving target, and as you can see, it changes constantly, and
But it does now. For 3 years
Yes.
now, we were pretty solid.
yes. Awesome. Well, thanks, guys, for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.